Welcome, everyone. We're excited to be starting our third season of the 98% Life After Prison, a podcast dedicated to the roughly 18,000 men and women who are released from North Carolina's prisons each year, often with little more than gate money. I'm Judy Van Wyk.
And I'm April Barber. And we're especially happy to welcome all the men and women in North Carolina prisons who have tuned into our show. The 98% is now on the electronic tablet that's given to all incarcerated people in North Carolina. Edovo, the company that provides content for the tablet, was willing to waive the $1,000 upload fee as long as we would upload our show just once a year. We uploaded our first 2 seasons in early May, and a number of people have reached out to say that they're enjoying the show.
So welcome to all of you on the inside. We're thrilled to have you in the audience, even though you may not have access to our latest episodes. We're going to kick off Season 3 with an interview with Joseph Parry. Mr. Parry served 52 years in prison before being released in January of this year.
We figured anyone who survived that many years in prison has gained some wisdom worth sharing. And Mr. Parry indeed learned not only how to survive behind bars, but how to make prison work for him. Let's take a listen to his story.
So can you just tell me a little bit about your growing up and your family and just about your background?
I'm the 4th oldest of a family of 10, 5 girls, 5 boys. Great family, much fun. Had a great time together. I get to see my sister's friends. I get to date them and so forth. So it was fun. But nevertheless, we lived in a project. It was kind of tough, and it was just Mom. However, we did what we could to assist Mom in whatever we might have needed. We still was lacking in a lot of areas, but we was happy. However, still wanted to be a little bit more than I actually was, landed me in prison very early. Because I always felt like the businesses had the money that they can give to the projects and the kids in the projects. And the insurance company would give it back to them. So I don't know where I developed this strategy from or this thought, but I just wanted to take it from the businesses and bring it to the neighborhood. And that's basically what I've done. I became a robber. Started taking money from different stores. And without hurting anyone was my motto. But that escalated from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, because that becomes addictive. Acquiring money without putting in the work for that money can be addictive just like any drug. However, fast money goes fast. It doesn't stay with you. And I had to keep doing what I was doing, robbing and taking. I never was a stealer. I didn't steal, but I did rob. And that escalated to the point that I actually hurt somebody in 2 other situations. One passed away, and that led to the time that put me in prison for 52 years. So,
what's the difference between stealing and robbing?
Stealing, when you're doing things on the sly, I always thought you're just trying to avoid attention. And you just want to put some in your pocket or take some money or take some unnoticed. Robbing is a different thing. You have to be noticed. They know that they was robbed. They know that something was taken. And you're doing it with a knife or a gun or a weapon or something of this nature. Far different from stealing when it doesn't take a weapon and you're just sneaking something and taking it or stealing money or whatever.
Did you work alone?
Most of the time. Because having gone to training school taught me that you don't want a crime partner. You don't want anyone with you that might tell it on you. I would never tell on myself. So I depended on myself. And if I did include someone else, I would never tell on them. And that was the situation in my case. I was arrested in a crime that they knew it was two people, and they wanted the second person. Although they didn't firmly have identification or evidence for the first, which is myself, but they wanted the second person. And especially in the murder charge. And that alluded to the SBI, the courtrooms, and everyone playing unfairly. They actually convinced someone to say they was with me that wasn't with me. How that happened, I do not know. I can't speak on it because I wasn't there. I don't know how he got involved. I don't know how he ended up on the stand. But he was there to say he watched me rob a man, shoot a man. But they needed someone to put me in that place. And they used this guy. And I have no idea where he come from because he was not with me.
So how old were you when you went to prison?
Initially, I went to prison when I was 17, just turning 17. I went to prison February 24th, 1971, originally. And that was for a little petty crime because that's when I was taking money and bringing it back to the project and basically giving it to the kids in the project. Give them anything they want off the service truck. I'll pay for it. That Robin Hood mentality type thing, I don't know, because I love kids. And so I was a kid myself, basically.
So you went to training school. No?
Yes, early. I was 11.
Okay, so tell me, 11. You went to training school. What was that all about?
A student. Things that happened in my life after Dad had been kind of ran out of town when I was 6 years old. But other things, traumatic events that I haven't really spoke to. One particular event anyway, that kind of detoured me. After Dad's situation when I was 6, something happened when I was 9 and 10. That kind of detoured me and had me acting like a little mean child. When I was actually an A student, loved school. I went to training school basically for stealing keys from a car wash and going back and taking the money out the change machines and so forth. And the owner was waiting, chasing me with quarters in my pocket full of quarters. And I'm trying to run and acting like I can get away with a whole lot of change, money falling all out of my pocket. So he ultimately found me and called the police. And for that, I was sent to the training school for 1 year. And at 15 and 16, it was a school issue that detoured me finally, that led me to prison and doing the other thing. Because I didn't get in trouble anymore from the teenage training school years until I was 16 or so. And that was because I was actually cut off a football team. And I love playing football. Rogers Hurt, brand new integrated school. They just built it. They just integrated. And I stayed on Cornwallis. We got to ride a bus. I come from a predominantly black junior high and so forth. And played all kinds of sports and loved sports. And now I'm playing at Roger Hurt. And just before the scrimmage game, I was cut because of my age. But that detoured my whole life. That ended me in prison at 17. Ended me up with a case at 16. The first that I had gotten since getting out of training school.
It sounds like you had all this like testosterone teenage energy and you weren't able to any longer channel that energy into football. So it got channeled elsewhere.
Absolutely. Although Mom allowed me to quit school because I was 16. And after that, I did work a little bit. That wasn't consistent enough. And so I picked up my old habits. That's when the little robbing thing kind of sprung forth and escalated. Like that was my job. Initially, I went to prison when I was 17, just turning 17. I went to prison February 24th, 1971. And that time I served from 1971 to 1974. Latter part of 74, I was released. And after being released, I pretty much did well for a little while, maybe 10 to 12 months. That's all I stayed out. But I was on parole at the time. So therefore, the prison had never actually released me. I was still under their jurisdiction. So when I committed these crimes at 17 years old, opposed to staying in jail for years and months, they took me back to prison to finish the sentence that I was already serving, and brought me back to court on many occasions to get me the time that I ultimately ended up with. 2 life sentences, 2 50-year sentences, 20-year sentences, along with the 8 to 10 and the 10 to 15.
You were never supposed to see the outside of a prison again.
I wasn't. And that was the recommendation of the district attorney. So after being in prison for maybe 7, 8 years behind the wall, and they talked about transferring me to Odom, which is a farm facility in Caledonia. I said, I can leave the wall. I ain't gonna die behind the wall like the DA had suggested. Then things begin to change for me. I can't go home. I'm seeing things in a different perspective now, because now I don't have to stay behind the wall to die, as he suggested. Then I could possibly do well and do things and progress and change the way I do things and maybe get made parole. And it was at that time when I realized that I can transfer, that I realized that I can also get out. And preparation began then for me for that day that I would get out. It was a long time after that before I got out, but still, it was 40-some years, but still, I was always positive that I was going to get out. In spite of the time was just numbers. But me surviving until I got out was my main focus. Staying in shape, staying healthy, being prepared mentally, and really educationally. I wanted to be ready for it if I was ever released, so I can go to a job and I can do whatever I wanted to do, because I had training in these particular areas. And that's what I focused on. And I went to school and I studied and I didn't study. And I studied law and then I didn't study. I worked on a regular job and then I go back to studying. And I did this the whole time, acquiring different skills, understanding myself, focusing on myself now the whole time, because it was me that I needed to understand. It was the new Joe that I was formulating in prison, that I wanted everyone on the outside once I got out to see. Not the old Joe, because they wouldn't know me no way. Most were dead. So the people I was going to meet were going to know the new Joe. But those who want to know my story of the old Joe gets to know that as well, because I don't conceal anything. The truth is the truth. So I try to share it and let them know what I went through. And maybe it would touch someone and they would understand. But you can always survive. You just have to have determination and the will to understand who you are. But you can survive. Just know who you are. Not the next man. This is the time for you to be selfish when you're in prison, because it's all about you. Study who you are, what you like. If you like something, get better at it. Get a better understanding at it. Go for it. There are schools around this state that teach you anything you want to learn about anything that you want to know about. So you just take the time to go there. Prepare yourself for what you got to do when you get out. And by the way, for those in prison, this is not prison. You was given a second chance. And I call it the greatest university in the world. because this is a schooling process for you. You wasn't sentenced to die. You were sentenced to learn and to change. So don't take it as a punishment. Take it as an opportunity.
Don't allow yourself to be a victim.
Exactly. Not to your own doings. You did what you did. Even if you didn't do the crime, you put yourself in a position where someone can tell somebody else you was there. So you can't say, oh, he snitched on me. No, you snitched on you because you allow him to know your business. Now, if you're not involved in it at all, then there's no problem. The object of being in prison has to change, to come out better than you were when you went in.
When I listen to you, I hear that you did prison on your own terms.
Every day of it. And those that knows me knows that's the way I did my time. I did it the way I wanted to do it. The programmers couldn't direct me because they couldn't understand me. But you can't worry about the programmers. It's you that got to fix you. And anything that you want to do, anything that you thrive to do, you want to carry out to the free world, then you got to prepare for this. And it's not hard out here like that either, fellas. Not when you prepare and you focus. I wanted to go to truck driving school when I got out, and I did. Then my glaucoma said, you're not going to drive trucks. But I had another plan. Then I want to be an apartment manager, apartment maintenance person. Then maybe even I can get an apartment with the people I may work for, was my next plan. Unfortunately, I should say fortunately, with a great blessing attached to it, I ended up with Housing for New Hope, people who give people chances. And I'm a facility maintenance specialist.
What's interesting to me is that it was transferring from one prison to another that that was your epiphany. That's when you realized that you could one day be free.
Yes, because what the DA said in the courtroom resonated with me for many, many years. I thought about this thing for many years. He want me to die in prison. Well, maybe I am. So I cut up a lot in prison too now. I did some crazy stuff. And I'm kind of known for doing this. I got to have some of that. I stuck up while I was in prison. I took the skills from the streets to the prison and continued doing it because I didn't think it mattered in the early years. It didn't matter. Even if I didn't live through all of it, it didn't matter because I had more time that I can serve anyway. But when I realized I can come out of that wall and go to another unit, the sticking up and all the crazy stuff stopped immediately because you can get killed for the things that I was doing to other people. And therefore I had survived it. No holes punched in me, so I was good. This is a time to change. Because they're going to transfer me to Odom, and that's an open camp, not the wall where I can only see the airplanes. I said, I'm going for it. And I started changing from that day on. I felt as though I was making a junior parole by going to an open camp, although it was close custody. And things looked great once I came out the wall. So... I guess doing time consists of you being who you are, minding your business. The number one rule of the prison system is to mind your own business and to stay in your lane. If you mind your own business, then you don't have any problem by anyone else. No one is going to just push up on you and just say, what you doing? Or I want to get into your business. No, nobody did that. You have to put yourself in certain situations to be confronted with bad things or good things or whatever. It is the circle of people. And that plays even to the day when you get out. Your friends the ones you choose, be very careful. And being by yourself in prison should teach you to be by yourself when you're out here and be very selective about who you deal with. Because you already know how you are and what triggers you and what you don't want to do and what you don't want to be involved in. But you've got to have the strength and the will to separate yourself from it. If you want to stay out of prison, you got to do it yourself. It's not the court system, it's not the police, it's you. Look in the mirror and say, I'm done. Don't tell it to your friend. Don't tell it to the programmers. Don't even tell it to the employee who may give you a job. Look in the mirror and tell it to yourself, I'm done. Because if it is not coming from the inside, you'll be back. You got to be determined because it's easy to do wrong. It is very easy to get caught up in some bull. But I think it takes strength to do the right thing. For those who've already been participating in it, you got to be stronger than most. But if you don't, you will go back in.
And the gangs?
Not everyone is affiliated with gangs. Gangs came along in the late 90s or mid 90s or something, but they wasn't prevalent in prison when I started. You had to be a man and you had to be independently secure. You had to be an individual who knew who he was. Because if you whatever you presented to people, that's what they acted on.
You moved from prison to prison. How easy was it for you to transfer for particular programming? Was that supported? Did the system support you going to X prison because they had a certain class or a certain program that you wanted to take?
This is the one thing that prison does promote. And they're always on your team when you want to improve yourself. This will get you moved quicker than anything else. If you have a program that you want to take, a class you want to take, you will be moved to that program if you do it in a timely manner. Anytime I wanted to leave a camp and take a class, I was gone before that class started. And I was on that camp. And every programmer, every case manager will assist you in going to another camp for a program. That is the easiest way to transfer.
Did you make friends in prison?
I made associates. My friends was in the earlier years, in the 70s, with guys who had similar sentences, life, double life, 3 life, 4 life, 5 life, and even more. But these was my friends that I got to know first. Everyone else after that became associates. I associate with everybody. I can communicate with anybody, but I don't let nobody close. Not to the friendship point. Because to me, a friend is forever. But nevertheless, yes, I have met a lot of friends in prison. That's friends now. And they've been out for years. And they're accomplished, but they're still friends. And we're still in touch. And these was friends, serious friends. And when they did get out, they would always say, you need something? Or anything, what you want? They'll send me things, but I would always never ask.
You've been transitioning since January, and you've had a lot of support here in Durham. Being back in the world, yeah, just your perspective on that.
I'm still putting my world together, putting things together for myself because other things has to take place based on me being in a situation 6 months after being released. This is the time span I gave myself. I would have an apartment, I have a job, I have a nice little income, and I would be able to move forward to my next project. Although I don't have my apartment, but based on the situation, family situation, I'm with my sister's husband passed, and I'm living with my sisters. I can't leave her there by herself. So that part of getting an apartment and so forth, although I'm prepared and I can get one, I work with Houses for New Hope, who has several properties, and I'm certain I can get an apartment. However, I don't want an apartment now. Things on that level have to take a pause until Sis is situated, until she's well.
So is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to end on?
I just don't want guys to come out of prison thinking being out is so exceptional. It is the right thing and the normal thing to do is be out of bondage, out of lockup, not being jailed or not being told what to do. It is a normal, natural thing. So people are saying, well, how do you feel? How am I supposed to feel? I'm feeling great. I'm free. I make my own choices. I don't set my own hours because they got me on a curfew still for a little while longer. But nevertheless, I work within the rules that I've been given. I have to work within them. And I set my own guidelines. I can't do anything and everything I want. But I can do just about everything I want. And I'm satisfied with that for now. For now. But for those that's coming out, one day at a time, just like you serve your time one day at a time, take it one day at a time when you get here. And don't take a failure at being complete and the final, because you can move from that failure to a success story. You can find something different. Do something different. I want to go to church school. Main objective, I want to buy a house in 5 years. I want to make that money, get on the highway. It wasn't possible. My eyes won't let me do it. I moved on to the next thing. Plan B. There's a C and a D too, because I was extensive with my planning. So, but for those who just make a plan A, don't be disappointed if it fails. But have some kind of alternative measure in place if it should fail. Because your success is your success. Your failure is your failure if you accept it as a failure. So don't accept not succeeding as a complete failure that you got to go start using drugs and drink. I ain't going to be nothing in life. Find something else. Build another plan. Be flexible.
You know, April, what strikes me about Joe's story is that he turned a double life sentence into an opportunity. You know, once he thought that he had a chance to one day be free, he challenged himself to keep learning and keep growing regardless of his circumstance. That little glimmer of hope, despite the odds, that's what kept him going. And it reminds me of the way you served your time, April.
I definitely know what Joe meant. When you change prisons and you have different opportunities, it does change your perspective. And that's kind of what happened to me through the course of my incarceration, because I was shipped to like 5 different prisons, and I took advantage of all the opportunities presented with inside those prisons. So I totally understand where Joe's coming from.
And speaking of making the most of an opportunity, congratulations to you for graduating from community college with honors this past May. Well done, April. What else have you been up to since the last season?
Well, since graduating with my associates in general education, I've enrolled in a Bachelor of Science for Criminal Justice, and I'm on track to complete by the end of next year. I've also completed a Forensic Peer Support Specialist certification. So with this degree, do you have an idea of what you'd like to do as a career? I would like to stay with reentry. We'll probably go on to a master's, but I don't think that I need a master's in criminal justice because, let's face it, I already have a PhD in it. So I think that I will probably take a master's in business and see what opportunities go from there.
That sounds good. Well, that's our show for today. Join us next time when we'll learn how prisons and jails have replaced hospitals as a depository for people with severe mental illness. We'll also introduce you to a new program that offers both physical and psychiatric care to people coming out of prison. And like its partner program, FIT, Fit Wellness helps their clients access vital community resources like housing and transportation.
In the meantime, if you'd like to reach out to us, you can email us at 98%.lifeafter@gmail.com. Again, that's 98%.lifeafter@gmail.com. We hope you like the show and you will tell your friends to tune into the 98% Life After Prison podcast.